Hey, how's it going? If you're watching this video, it's probably because you searched Bo Burnham's Inside on YouTube and came across this video after watching every other video. And if that's what you've done, then you and I are in the same boat because I've watched a lot of reaction videos to Bo Burnham's Inside from a lot of different perspectives. Some of the typical reaction videos where you'll see them play a video in the corner, one of the songs, and talk about how brilliant it is. You've probably seen the one with the guitar instructor who is kind of analyzing the chord progressions, does a wonderful job. You've probably seen some of the more fun ones where people ranked his songs, and there's a lot of different videos out there, and I'm not here to try to bring something better necessarily. A lot of those videos did a wonderful job. Some of them had some really interesting insights. Really, what I'm doing is I'm really just talking about what that special kind of meant to me. So I'm not necessarily bringing some sort of different insight. I'm not even sure I'm going to say anything that's all that original, but really this is just something very personal that I'm recording, and it really made an impact on me in terms of just capturing kind of how I felt over the last year and a half in the pandemic. So I thought I would just talk about that, post this video, and maybe it's just for me to watch. Maybe you happen to come upon this and you find something that I identified in the video that maybe I don't know, resonates with you, and if so, great. But I just want to talk about, to me, what I got out of it and why I've watched it like 5 or 6 times. So the first time I watched it, it was kind of tough. It was like a bitter pill. I left it feeling like I'm glad I watched this. I don't think I'm going to watch this again. And if you've watched it, you get it. It's riveting, it's depressing, it's heart-wrenching, it's funny. It takes you to a lot of different places and kind of rips that Band-Aid off and from the fresh scab from the pandemic, the emotional impact of what that's been like. So I watched it and thought, well, I'm glad I watched it. I won't watch it again. And I just kind of left it and actually went on a short vacation weekend trip to New Orleans with some friends, had a great time. And then when I came back home from that trip, the special just kind of stuck in my mind. I couldn't kind of forget about it. I read a few articles that talked about it, its brilliance, and some of the things you've probably read too, talking about it as the best piece of art to come out of the pandemic thus far, things like that. And so I watched it again, and the second time I watched it was not as emotionally difficult to watch. It actually was sort of cathartic, and then I watched it again and again, and it got to where rewatching it wasn't as emotionally draining as much as it was just kind of enriching. And when I think about what it is about the special that really, to me, resonates, ultimately, he doesn't talk about the pandemic as a subject. Instead, he captures what it felt like to experience it. And more than anything else I've read, seen, heard, or taken in during or since things have kind of started to resolve in the pandemic, this captured how I felt. I've worked from home, and I know not everyone's been that fortunate, so I recognize, how privileged I have been able to do that from, a health and safety perspective. But at the same time, it was very isolating. I teach college students, so I'm used to interacting with people and being in a classroom with vibrant discussion and things like that. And to replace that with talking to a camera, teaching classes online with students who usually have their cameras off, so I'm just talking to a camera and not seeing faces, that was very difficult. And then I'm a very social person, so not seeing my friends, that was also challenging. So that experience being stuck at home, but it's more than just that. What I really connected with was how he captured these moments or these periods of creativity that sort of lived as islands in the sea of monotony. Spending every day in the same space, not going to the office, not going to the classroom, not going to the normal places I like to go, like coffee shops and the local bar for trivia night and things like that. Just kind of for a year and a half spending almost all of my time at home when I'm used to those kinds of interactions. It was just this claustrophobic feeling. But I also undertook a lot of creative endeavors, and part of that was out of boredom and out of just coping with this. I started working on writing a book and interviewing people over Zoom for that book, and I'm still working on that. I started a YouTube channel where I cover the Arizona Cardinals, and just one of my passions as a Cardinals fan. I undertook being a dungeon master for the first time in Dungeons and Dragons through online, but I'd never led a game before. I'd played before. I'm kind of new to it. In recent years, learned how to play and created my own what they call a homebrewed world, where I create this whole world out of nothing and create the lore. So undertook all this and still leading that game, and so I did have these moments of creativity that I undertook. And those were enjoyable and rewarding, but I was also oscillating between that and moments where I just felt really depressed and really lonely. Missing my friends, missing the kinds of social interactions that I'm used to as someone who is, again, very outgoing. And to see the change of tone from one bit to the next in Bo Burnham's special. Moments where he's singing these upbeat, cheery-sounding songs, although the lyrics are certainly juxtaposed against that very serious or not so cheery lyrics, but with very upbeat-sounding music. And these moments that seem cheery, where he's singing about feeling like a sack of you-know-what, and then the next moment, him just kind of huddled up in a blanket and just feeling very depressed, and his moments of where he looks like he's on the verge of a breakdown, whether that is, real or, staged or not, and it almost doesn't matter because the art captures that feeling, whether he was acting that out or he really was on the verge of a breakdown. So I felt like that the video or the series captured that feeling, that these moments where I'm where I'm sure many of you had these kinds of things that you got into, the pandemic that launched a million YouTube channels, right? Everyone's starting a YouTube channel during the pandemic. And so these periods of feeling, just really vibrantly creative, but when you're done creating, just feeling, going back to, I'm stuck at home, depressed. And so I feel like for those who that was their experience, Bo Burnham's Inside really captured that. Those different kind of periods and kind of tossed you around emotionally in a sense. And what I think it also captured was how these things we tried to replace social interaction with, whether it be Zoom calls, to try to have at least some social interaction, though over a screen, watching movies, watching Netflix series, whatever series it was this week that everyone was talking about, watching lots and lots of YouTube content. For me, teaching online, how those feelings or those kinds of substitutes for actual social interaction really left at least me, and I think many people, wanting, right? Or we felt like it was lacking. It felt like a shallow, inadequate replacement for actual social interaction. And in many cases, it was probably better than nothing, but especially when you go away from the actual Zoom calls with friends, but go more towards, taking in YouTube content and films, like, you're in a sense having a social interaction in that people are conveying ideas and messages, and there are people you hear talking and acting and performing, but there's no actual connection, and it fools you into thinking you're having a social interaction, and then ends up feeling very hollow, and almost ends up making you feel worse for that. So as I said, a lot of people have done a lot of really in-depth analysis in terms of some of the different techniques and some of the different narrative elements and different ways that Bo Burnham used framing and lighting brilliantly, and I don't have anything more meaningful to add to that. Not really knowledgeable in those areas, but I thought I would just share what I got out of it, if nothing else, just for me as an opportunity to kind of articulate that. And again, if this is at all similar to how you experience it, I hope that it's helpful to you to hear someone else saying how meaningful this was to them in that way, this piece of art. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you are doing well wherever you're at, and that you're returning to normal. Hopefully your return to normalcy is well underway, and I wish you the best. Thank you.